Hello, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. First, we're going to go and introduce everyone. On the back left is Ian Rawlings, junior planner. Beside him is Dan Solvay, committee member. Doreen Lester, committee member beside him. Corinne Chason, senior planner. On my far right is Matthew Child, the committee member. Beside him is Marcia Fakta. She's our planning clerk, and she's new to the role, so we're going to have to be a little bit slower with letting her keep up to date with motions and whatnot. So take your time. Then we have Sarah Gerard, and I'm the chair, Phil Pocock. What? Sorry. First, we'll do the land acknowledgement. Sorry, I called a meeting to order at 5:01.
Chair, the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi people, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on this land from time immemorial.
The declaration of conflict of interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to adoption of published agenda for February 13th, 2024. Any changes? Not seeing any. Can I have a mover? Doreen and Dan. All good? Passed. Adoption of January 16th minutes. Any notices of adds, move, changes? Can I have a motion? Matthew and Doreen. All good. And now we're going to our first application, E0524. There's a lot, just 1282 Gore Road. And I'll pass that on to Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Sarah, if you could pull up the PowerPoint. Perfect, thank you. So this application is B0524. It is 1282 Gore Road in the former township of Colchester South. The subject property is designated agriculture by the Town of Essex official plan and is zoned agriculture 1.1 by the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The subject property is located on the northern side of Gore Road, west of Dunn Road, and contains a single detached dwelling and 5 outbuildings. Next slide, please. So the small parcel that we're dealing with today is just a snippet of the property. Here is a close-up of it, but if we go to the next slide, we can see a better image. So this is the site plan provided by the applicant, and what they're proposing to do is to sever a 0.46 acre parcel from the existing 106.9 acre parcel for the purpose of a lot addition. The severed lands will be added to the adjacent property, 1276 Gore Road, resulting in a retained parcel with a lot area of 106.4 acres. The severed lands will contain 1 outbuilding, the existing driveway access, and the rest of the house as this kind of lot line as it sits today currently goes through a portion of the house that's on 1276 Gore Road. So the purpose for this lot addition is to correct technical and legal reasons. Next slide, please. So here we can just see the driveway access with 1 house being 1276 Gore Road on the left and 1282 Gore Road on the right. Go to the next slide, please. Again, here is the lands that it will be consolidated with. Next slide. And here's the rest of the retained lands with the house that's on it. Next slide, please. Now here's one of the spots that it's one of the viewpoints that the new lot line is going to be. So this is actually facing Gore Road, standing within the property. And that building to your right, that's one of the outbuildings that will now be consolidated with 1276 Gore Road. Next slide, please. And this is just the last viewpoint I believe I have for this slide. And that's just showing where that lot line will end up. So on the right-hand side, you've got 1276 Gore Road, and the outbuildings to the left, you've got 1282 Gore Road. Next slide, please. So typically with the consent application, we have to consider the policy being the PPS, official plan, all of those. The PPS and the county official plan detail that lot additions are allowed for technical and legal reasons and doesn't prescribe any additional information, so it conforms there. Then moving on to the official plan. Right now, we don't see any impacts to neighboring properties. To both properties, this is actually favored as it takes a lot line that's running through a house and gives them the rest of the house, so to speak. And it also gives them their proper driveway access. However, that does mean that the retained lands is losing their driveway access, so that has been made a condition that they install a new driveway. This doesn't result in the need for any drainage works or anything, as no drainage runs at the front of the property. And then lastly, with the zoning bylaw, no minor variance accompanies this application as it's over 100 acres, and we're adding to another agricultural lot that's deficient in size. However, where the lot lines fall, if you skip to the next slide, please. Where the new lot lines fall, I've circled it in red here. The distances between the lot lines and the outbuildings, it's too difficult to determine without a proper survey. So we've made it a requirement that the applicant bring any outbuildings that might be too close to the lot lines to bring those into compliance with the zoning bylaw. The applicants have been made aware of this, and that might only result in the movement of one of the silos or tearing it down, or the applicants could apply for a minor variance should they need it. Next slide, please. And after that, we only got one comment from the Essex Region Conservation Authority stating no objections. Next slide. Here we have our standard comments with two additional ones. As I detailed before, a new driveway access to be placed on the property and to bring all structures into compliance with the zoning bylaw should we deem it necessary. And the applicant has 2 years to fulfill these should the application be approved today. Next slide, please. Now, lastly, just a recap of the decisions that can be made. The committee could approve the application with conditions. They can defer the application or they could deny the application. And today the planning department is recommending approval with the contained conditions. Thank you.
Ms. Golder, do you have anything to add to the comments? And if you wouldn't mind going to the back to the delegate and turn on them. All right, thank you.
This way I have a place to put my papers anyway. Thank you. Yes, I'm Peggy Golden, and I'm the agent and lawyer for the applicants, Merle and Margaret Howie. Merle Howie is here today. I know that, thank you, Ian, for summarizing that so well. I know from the sketch and the aerial photo, it looks like the lot line for 1276, 1276 Gore Road does go through the house. I don't think that's really the case, and that might just be the depiction from the aerial photos. But regardless, that certainly is something that will be revealed once we have the draft reference plan. So when we get, if this is approved tonight and the client proceeds with to get the reference plan prepared, certainly a draft of it showing the buildings and the setbacks would be provided, for your review to make sure everything is in compliance. But the area where it was circled in red is a grain bin, and I think the applicant intended if it's it was going to be torn down. So either way, the Howies are aware of those conditions. So I think this just kind of gets a property that to be more in line with how it's used, the driveway being used for the the main house, and then, and some of the outbuildings and land area that is actually used with 1276 and not the abutting farmlands. So I'm not sure if you have any specific questions that either myself or the applicant could address, but I'd be happy to entertain those.
Anything from the committee? Go ahead there, Dan.
Chair, the only question I have, if you can go back to the conditions list and what is the bylaw requirement there for the building setback be from the property line? Is it 4 feet, 5 feet, 25 feet?
Through you, Chair. Right now for an accessory building, accessory to the house, it's 1.2 meters, if I recall correctly.
Not seeing any other questions, not seeing anything from the public. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve with the conditions to the applicant.
Matthew? All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to application B 0424, 240 Dunn Road. When you're ready, Ian, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So this application, B0424, is 420 Dunn Road, formerly Colchester South. The subject property is designated Hamlet Residential Area on the Colchester Hamlet Land Use Plan and is zoned Residential District 1.1. The subject property currently contains a single detached house and accessory structure in the rear yard and is located at the southeast corner of the intersection between Dunn Road and Harrison Street. Now the applicants are proposing to sever a 602 square meter parcel from the existing 1,471 square meter residential lot. Respectively, the retained residential lot is proposed to have an area of 869 square meters, and the applicant is proposing the severance for a lot creation of one lot. Next slide, please. So here, the applicant has provided a detailed site plan and has also identified a building footprint of roughly 220 square meters for any potential construction to happen on this new lot. And the applicant's also displaying that all structures, being the accessory structure and the existing house, would comply with the zoning bylaw. Now, next slide, please. So here we have some images of the subject property, just of the single detached house. Next slide, please. And here we have the lands to be severed, currently vacant, and you can see a little bit of the accessory structure on the right-hand side there. Next slide, please. Here again is just another viewpoint where you can see the intersection of the right-hand side, accessory structure, and that house. Next slide, please. And here I've gone ahead and drawn a lot, just a lot line with our PowerPoint tool here. The garage or accessory structure will be 1.2 meters from the rear lot line and complies with the zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. And here we have a couple additional viewpoints just to help us out understand the property and what we're creating today. Next slide. And here, as always, we have the consideration of the policy. So right now, the County of Essex official plan and the PPS, going back to the County of Essex official plan, it promotes infill lots in these secondary settlement areas. The Colchester Hamlet being a secondary settlement area, it seems quite fitting that an infill lot be permitted at this time. And then moving from there, the Town of Essex official plan. We have a couple things that I want to note. One being that the development is on a corner lot, only a few other lots would have this ability to create a new severed lot. And with it, any other corner lots that would like to follow suit would have to be viewed on a case-by-case basis and would most likely require a zoning amendment as they have additional structures on their property. That's one thing I'd wanted to note. And as far as orderly development, when you view the properties from the street and not from a map, you wouldn't be able to identify the size of the lot and the depth of it as more accurately as you would if you were viewing it from an aerial view. And then from there, municipal water and sanitary is available for the subject property. However, there are some drainage constraints at this time, and I'm going to jump to those in a moment if we wanted to go to the next slide. So from here, we've gotten 2 comments for this property, one from the Essex from IRCA, stating no objections at this time. But the other comment that we received is from Infrastructure Services. Next slide, please. So they provided 2 comments that we wanted to address today. One being rainwater discharge from 420 Dunn Road, specifically the garage building. They identified that this should be rerouted to not flood out this newly created lot. We didn't include a condition at this time as this is better enforced through the bylaw department and not through the condition of a severance. And then the next one here being that there's infrastructure identified that once this new lot, if it is created, would not be able to outlet onto the drains along Dunn Road that it is currently assessed to, and that there's no available drainage capabilities along, sorry, I forget the Harrison Street. There's no current storm drain along Harrison Street in front of this severed lot. So the infrastructure services asked that we speak to the drainage department in finding out a solution, which if we could go to the next slide, please. The drainage department did recognize that there is a storm drain that abuts the neighboring property, but doesn't quite front this newly created parcel. So they have asked that the applicant conduct a Section 65 engineering report under the Drainage Act to ensure that there's proper conveyance, capacity, and a proper hookup method so that the resulting severed parcel will be able to drain adequately, will be able to deal with its stormwater appropriately within this area. And then from there, a second condition has been placed that the applicant install the necessary works to the satisfaction of the municipality. All right, so next slide, please. So from here, we do have standard conditions for the creation of a new lot. One of those being the payment of parkland. The applicant has 2 years to fulfill them, to fulfill all conditions. And I wanted to note those 2 extra conditions in red. The one is to complete that engineering report under Section 65 of the Drainage Act. And then the condition to follow is that the applicant conduct the proper works as deemed necessary. Next slide, please. Again, just to remind the committee of the decisions they could make. They could either approve, defer, or deny the application. And at this time, the planning department is recommending approval, subject to conditions listed. Thank you.
I know Mr. Brisbaugh is online. If you'd like to add anything to Ian's comments.
Good day. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes?
Did you get rid of the lines?
Yes. The only thing I want to say is I've got a big 2-story house with a large lot that is getting hard for me to take care of. So I'd like to just have a smaller lot that I can build a small ranch and with no stairs. So, because I have trouble on stairs now. So that's about all I have to say, I guess.
Any questions from the committee? Not seeing any. Oh, sorry, Matthew.
Through you, Mr. Chair. perhaps to staff. There's language in the staff report, I'm on page 5 of 16 now, that, it's around the drainage issue, that it would need to be assessed for capacity and conveyance. And if deemed available, the applicant would need to install works. And then if we scroll down to, condition number 6, there's reference to the section 65 engineering report being deemed satisfactory by the drainage superintendent. And my question is it a lock that drainage can be sorted for this site? It's just a matter of, pipe sizes and grades and all that kind of thing, or is there a possibility that the site can't drain to the satisfaction of the town?
Go ahead there, Corinne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great questions. So through this process, we have moved forward and have discussed with the applicant the potential financial commitment to the costs of doing a drainage report. There is a potential, there always is a potential, that the drainage report will result in potentially a capacity issue or anything like that. We have spoken with the drainage superintendent, however, and she stated that this is something that can be completed in 2 years' time. If there is any issue, however, if the committee so chooses to approve this application and the applicant is not able to satisfy one of those conditions, then it would lapse and the application would not move forward, obviously. So there is that safety net per se, if that outcome were to occur. However, there is, through that drainage report, it is a very small area that would have to be extended. The drain basically truncates right next door. So there is possibility that there could be a little bit of capacity there to cover this average small lot on this property. So that's why staff's recommendation, through the consultation with the drainage superintendent, that felt positive about this proposal. But we do have that safety net and the applicant is very aware of that as well, if this does pose any kind of significant challenge. Okay, thank you.
Any questions or a follow-up? Go ahead there, Dan.
Through you, Chair. The concern I have with this application is the severings of this lot comparisons with all the other lots around this part of the hamlet of Colchester. I think it would do a dishonesty to the other lots, reducing the depth of this lot, making it like a one-off and almost, I feel, devaluation to the other properties next door or in that part of the hamlet, as well causing some other the watershed off the roof. My other question would be to administration, is the setback for a new building, are we like just making a minimum, obviously setback, but from the front of the property, from the rear, the sides of the property, what kind of real size house could you actually fit on this property, but still look like the rest of the houses rather than try and make it more of a dense area starting off with this one lot? That's my concern. And I would not have, my position would be not in support of this. That's all I have. Thank you.
You guys want to add to that, Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we have, the applicant has identified a building footprint of roughly 220 meters squared. So that could be a sizable, respectable house or single detached dwelling, which is permitted on the lot. And they would have to, and that's abiding by the current setbacks, being that 25-foot frontage and 25 rear yard, and the 1.25 meter side yard on both sides as well, pending a garage, of course. But so that does account for those building setbacks and footprints.
Further, Mr. Chair, thank you. One of the unique things about Colchester Village and some of our older hamlets is that we do have an array of different size lots existing. And then we have also looked at what are our opportunities to allow some infilling into these older neighborhoods, provided that there are no negative impacts to adjacent neighbors. When we circulated this application and we did not find any negative responses back from any of the neighborhood, we have entertained and approved smaller lots because there is a need for smaller lots and smaller footprints that people are looking for, either tiny homes or more modest size houses to downsize to. So that is one of the reasons why staff did look at this and looked at the layout. Could they provide a site plan that showed an adequate footprint? Yes. Could they satisfy the setbacks? Yes. Could the drainage concerns be looked at and through the engineering process evaluated? Yes. Could the building department have any issues with runoff from the neighboring garage? They did advise that the drainage should be redirected to Dunn Road to satisfy that concern. So there are all of these methods that through those typical methods can be mitigated, and that's why we were in support of it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? You want another one? All right, go ahead there, Dan.
That would be is we have a potential new subdivision going across the street that I think can incorporate these types of size lots to do that. In my opinion, I don't think this lot is the right to do that to that lot. Given with all the other size lots, if you look at it from the area, you can see all the lots are all the same size. And this one here would be a postage size stamp lot in the middle of a mall. So I just don't think it fits in that neighborhood. That's all.
All right, do I have a motion? Go ahead there, Matthew. Do I have a seconder? Doreen seconds. All in favor? Doreen, Matthew, all opposed? Dan? Motion carried. It was approved, Mr.
Thank you.
Crispa, sorry, thank you. And finally,
Are we done?
Yep. Yep, we're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And now just motion to adjourn. Doreen and Dan. All in favor? Good. Thank you. Have a good night.